What if the deadliest catastrophe in human history was not a war, not an empire, and not a natural disaster, but a disease so terrifying that entire cities believed the end of the world had arrived? What if everything you think you know about the Black Death is wrong? In just a few years, this plague killed tens of millions of people across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Historians from leading institutions estimate that between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's population may have died. Entire villages vanished, trade collapsed, families disappeared. And what happened next shocked everyone, because the Black Death did not simply kill people. It changed the course of human history forever. And hidden within its story is a mystery that historians still debate today. Imagine waking up one morning in the year 1346. The sun rises over crowded medieval streets. Merchants prepare their stalls. Farmers head toward their fields. Church bells echo through the air. Life appears normal. Yet death is already approaching. Invisible, silent, relentless. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from, and let me know in the comments which historical event fascinates you the most. I read every comment. Now our story begins thousands of miles from Europe, far beyond the castles of England, far beyond the markets of France, far beyond the ports of Italy, across the vast landscapes of Central Asia. The world of the 14th century was more connected than many people realize. Trade routes stretched across continents. Caravans crossed deserts. Ships sailed enormous distances. Goods moved between civilizations: silk, spices, gold, silver, ideas, and unfortunately, disease. Somewhere along these networks, a deadly bacterium known today as Yersinia pestis found its opportunity. Historians still debate the exact origin. Some evidence points toward regions around Central Asia. Others suggest nearby areas. The truth was far more complicated. But what matters is what happened next. The disease entered the trade routes. And once it did, the world changed forever. Merchants traveled with goods. Rats traveled with merchants. Fleas traveled with rats. And hidden inside those fleas was death. Nobody understood germs. Nobody understood bacteria. Nobody understood infection. To medieval people, disease was often explained through religion, bad air, divine punishment, or mysterious forces. The real cause remained invisible. That ignorance would prove catastrophic. As trade intensified across Eurasia, the plague moved steadily westward. City after city became connected through commerce. Every connection became another pathway. Every road became a potential route for disaster. Then came one of the most dramatic episodes in the story: the city of Kaffa. Located on the Crimean Peninsula, Kaffa was a major trading center. Merchants from different regions gathered there. Business flourished, ships arrived regularly, wealth flowed through its markets. But in 1346, the city found itself under siege. The attackers were forces linked to the Mongol Golden Horde. The defenders resisted. The siege dragged on. And then something unexpected happened. Disease appeared among the attackers. Soldiers became sick, fevers spread, death followed. The plague had arrived. According to some historical accounts, the attackers may have catapulted infected bodies over the city walls. Historians continue debating the details. Whether the story happened exactly as described remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the disease entered the city, and once it did, escape became the only hope. Merchants boarded ships. Sailors prepared for departure. Families fled. They believed they were escaping death. Instead, many carried it with them. What happened next shocked everyone. The ships sailed westward, toward Europe, toward some of the wealthiest cities on Earth, toward populations completely unprepared for what was coming. When the first plague ships arrived in Mediterranean ports, nobody realized the scale of the danger. The vessels appeared ordinary. The crews did not. Many sailors were already dead. Others were dying. Some ships drifted into harbors with barely anyone left alive. People were horrified. But the worst was still ahead. Within weeks, symptoms began appearing among local populations. At first came fever. then weakness, then agonizing pain. Large swollen lumps developed beneath the skin. These swellings, known as buboes, often appeared near the neck, groin, or armpits. Victims suffered terribly. Many died within days. The speed was terrifying. A healthy person could become sick suddenly. A sick person could become dead shortly afterward. Families watched loved ones deteriorate before their eyes. Doctors were powerless. Priests prayed desperately. Authorities searched for answers. None came. The plague spread rapidly through Italian cities, then into France, then Spain, then England, then beyond. Every road became a pathway. Every market became a gathering point for infection. Every crowded neighborhood became a trap. The disease moved with astonishing speed. Panic followed. Imagine walking through a medieval city during the height of the Black Death. The streets feel different, quieter. Fear hangs in the air. Doors remain closed. Shops stand abandoned. Church bells ring constantly. Funeral processions pass daily. The smell of sickness lingers everywhere. People whisper rumors. Some believe God is punishing humanity. Others blame foreigners. Others believe poisonous air is responsible. Nobody truly understands. And because nobody understands, fear grows stronger than reason. The truth was far more horrifying. The plague did not care about wealth. It did not care about power. It did not care about status. Kings died. Merchants died. Farmers died. Priests died. Children died. The rich tried to escape. Sometimes they succeeded. Often they did not. Death followed them. Entire households disappeared. Entire communities collapsed. Some villages lost half their population. Others vanished almost completely. Fields went unharvested. Animals wandered unattended. Businesses closed. Trade routes weakened. The economy began to break apart. And still the plague spread. What happened next shocked everyone. Many doctors believed illness resulted from imbalances within the body. Their treatments often failed. Bloodletting, herbal remedies, strange mixtures, protective charms. Nothing consistently worked. The disease continued killing. The medical knowledge of the time simply could not stop it. Desperation led people toward increasingly extreme explanations. Some groups searched for scapegoats. Minorities faced persecution. False accusations spread. Violence followed. Fear transformed ordinary people. Communities that had once cooperated turned against one another. The plague attacked bodies, but it also attacked trust. It attacked social order. It attacked civilization itself. For many survivors, the world felt as though it were ending. Religious movements intensified. Some people marched through towns publicly punishing themselves, believing suffering might persuade God to end the plague. Others abandoned faith entirely. The psychological impact was enormous. Imagine believing every cough could mean death. Imagine wondering whether your family would survive the week. Imagine hearing funeral bells every day. This was reality for millions. Yet amid the horror, something unexpected began to happen. The massive loss of life created economic consequences nobody anticipated. Labor became scarce. Workers became valuable. Employers struggled to find people. Wages began rising in many regions. The balance of power slowly shifted. For centuries, many peasants had possessed little leverage. Now circumstances were changing. Landowners needed workers more than workers needed landowners. The consequences would reshape European society. But at the time, few could see the future. They were too busy surviving the present. Year after year, waves of plague continued. Some cities suffered worse than others. Some regions recovered more quickly. Others remained devastated. Historians estimate that tens of millions died across Eurasia and North Africa. The exact number remains uncertain. The scale remains almost impossible to comprehend. What happened next shocked everyone. Despite the devastation, humanity endured. Communities adapted. Trade slowly recovered. Governments adjusted. Religious institutions changed. New opportunities emerged from unimaginable tragedy. The Black Death exposed weaknesses within medieval society. It challenged assumptions. It accelerated change. The world after the plague looked different from the world before it. Power structures evolved. Economic relationships transformed. Cultural attitudes shifted. Some historians argue that these changes contributed to developments that eventually helped shape the Renaissance and the modern world. Historians still debate the extent of that influence today. But one thing is beyond dispute. The Black Death changed history forever. And perhaps the most remarkable fact of all is this: the disease never completely disappeared. The bacterium responsible still exists. Modern medicine has dramatically reduced the threat. Antibiotics can treat infections. Science understands transmission. Public health systems monitor outbreaks. Yet the organism remains part of our world. A reminder, a warning, a lesson from history. Because the Black Death teaches us something important. Civilizations often appear strong, permanent, unstoppable. Yet sometimes the greatest threats are invisible. Sometimes history changes not because of kings or armies, but because of forces nobody sees coming. And when those forces arrive, they can transform the world forever. The plague had arrived in Europe, and now there was no stopping it. The ships that carried merchants, silk, spices, and precious cargo had unknowingly delivered one of the deadliest disasters in human history. Port cities became the first victims, then towns, then entire kingdoms. Within months, the disease spread with terrifying speed. People watched healthy neighbors fall sick in the morning and die before the week ended. The speed of death was unlike anything most had ever witnessed. Imagine standing in the crowded streets of medieval Florence in 1348. The markets that once echoed with conversation are quieter now. People avoid one another. Parents pull children indoors. Merchants refuse handshakes. Fear hangs over the city like a dark cloud. Every cough draws nervous glances. Every fever sparks panic, because everyone knows what may come next. Death. What happened next shocked everyone. The plague did not move in a predictable pattern. Some households lost one person, others lost everyone. Entire families disappeared. In many places, there were not enough healthy people left to bury the dead. Bodies accumulated inside homes, along roads, inside churches, in public spaces. The scale became overwhelming. Local officials struggled desperately. Priests worked day and night. Doctors exhausted themselves trying to help the sick. Yet nothing seemed effective. The disease kept winning. Medieval medicine was simply unprepared. Doctors relied on theories that had existed for centuries. Many believed illness resulted from imbalances within the body. Others blamed poisonous air known as miasma. Strange treatments appeared everywhere: herbal mixtures, bloodletting, protective charms, religious rituals, special diets. None provided reliable protection. The truth was far more complicated. The real enemy was invisible, a bacterium carried by fleas, a concept completely unknown to 14th century Europe. Without understanding the cause, preventing the disease became nearly impossible. Fear soon transformed into desperation, and desperation often produces dangerous ideas. Across Europe, rumors spread rapidly. Some claimed outsiders had poisoned wells. Others accused minority communities of causing the plague. Conspiracy theories flourished. Violence followed. Innocent people became targets. Entire communities suffered persecution. Historians continue studying these events because they reveal something important about human behavior. During times of crisis, fear can become as dangerous as the disaster itself. The plague attacked bodies. Fear attacked society. Together, they created catastrophe. Imagine hearing church bells every hour, funeral after funeral, day after day, week after week. The sound becomes part of daily life. Children grow accustomed to it. Adults dread it. Everyone understands what it means. Another death. Another family shattered. Another reminder that nobody is safe. Rich or poor. Young or old. Powerful or powerless. The plague made few distinctions. Even rulers lived in fear. Kings attempted to protect themselves. Nobles fled cities. Wealthy families escaped to rural estates. Some survived. Others carried the disease with them. What happened next shocked everyone. Leaving infected cities sometimes spread the plague even farther. Every traveler became a potential carrier. Every journey became a risk. Roads connected communities. Communities connected regions. Regions connected kingdoms. The same networks that created prosperity now accelerated disaster. Some areas lost 30% of their population. Others lost 50%. In certain places, losses may have been even higher. Historians still debate exact numbers today. But one fact is undeniable. Europe was experiencing demographic collapse on a scale rarely seen in human history. Imagine a village of 100 people. Now imagine 50 of them gone. Houses stand empty. Fields remain untouched. Workshops close. Friendships disappear. Entire generations are erased. This happened again and again across the continent. Yet amid the devastation, human courage remained. Doctors continued treating patients despite enormous risks. Priests comforted the dying. Families cared for loved ones. Neighbors helped one another survive. Not everyone surrendered to fear. Many chose compassion instead. Their stories are often overlooked, but they remind us that even during history's darkest moments, humanity endures. One famous observer was the Italian writer Giovanni Boccaccio. Living through the plague, he described scenes of fear, grief, and social breakdown. His accounts remain among the most powerful descriptions of the disaster. Through witnesses like Boccaccio, we can glimpse what people experienced, not statistics, not numbers, human lives, human suffering, human resilience, and still the plague continued. By 1349, much of Europe had been affected. Cities from Italy to England struggled to cope. Trade slowed dramatically. Economic activity collapsed in many regions. Governments faced unprecedented challenges. Yet the most surprising consequences were still ahead. Because while millions died, survivors discovered that the world had changed. Labor became scarce. Workers became valuable. Landowners faced a problem they had never encountered before. There were not enough people left to work the land. Fields required labor. Crops required labor. Estates required labor. Suddenly, workers possessed leverage. They could demand higher wages, better conditions, greater freedom. This terrified many elites. Authorities attempted to stop these changes. Some governments passed laws limiting wages. Others tried forcing people to remain in traditional social roles. But reality proved difficult to control. The old system was weakening. The Black Death had altered the balance of power, and that transformation would shape the future of Europe. What happened next shocked everyone. In many places, peasants became more mobile. Opportunities expanded. Social structures that had seemed permanent began to shift. The plague had not only killed millions, it had destabilized centuries-old assumptions about society. Historians still debate exactly how much change resulted from these developments, but few deny their significance. The Black Death was not merely a health crisis. It was an economic revolution, a political revolution, a social revolution, and its consequences would echo for generations. Yet the disease itself was not finished, because just when survivors believed the nightmare was ending, the plague would return. Again, and again, and again. The first wave was devastating. The later waves ensured that fear remained embedded within European memory. Entire generations grew up knowing that plague could return without warning. And when it did, the terror came back with it. In the next part, the Black Death will reshape religion, transform governments, trigger revolts, and leave psychological scars that endure for centuries. And the most disturbing mystery of all, the true reason this catastrophe changed the world so dramatically is still waiting to be revealed. The worst years of the Black Death eventually passed. The endless funeral bells grew quieter. The mass graves became less frequent. The streets slowly filled again. Markets reopened. Farmers returned to their fields. Merchants resumed their journeys. To many survivors, it seemed the nightmare was finally over. But appearances were deceiving, because the Black Death had done far more than kill millions of people. It had fundamentally changed the world, and its most important consequences were only beginning to emerge. Imagine surviving the plague. Half the people you knew are gone. Entire families have vanished. Church leaders who promised answers could not stop the disease. Kings who commanded armies could not defeat it. Doctors who claimed knowledge could not cure it. The institutions people trusted suddenly appeared powerless. What happened next shocked everyone. Across Europe, many people began questioning traditional authority. For centuries, the Church had occupied a central position in daily life. Its influence touched every aspect of society. Yet during the plague, countless priests died alongside ordinary citizens. Prayers did not stop the disease. Religious processions did not stop the disease. Pilgrimages did not stop the disease. For some survivors, faith grew stronger. For others, doubts emerged. The truth was far more complicated. The Black Death did not destroy religion, but it transformed the relationship many people had with it. Historians still debate the full extent of this change today. Meanwhile, economic transformation accelerated. The labor shortage remained severe. Workers discovered new opportunities. Employers competed for employees. Wages increased in many regions. Living standards improved for some survivors. Land became available. Resources became easier to access. Suddenly, people who once possessed little power found themselves in stronger positions. The old social order began to crack. Not immediately, not everywhere, but gradually. And those cracks would eventually help reshape European society. What happened next shocked everyone. Rulers attempted to reverse these changes. Laws were introduced to control wages. Restrictions were imposed on workers. Authorities tried preserving traditional hierarchies. Yet economic reality proved difficult to defeat. When labor becomes scarce, workers gain value. No decree could fully change that fact. Tensions increased. Frustration grew. Social unrest followed. In some regions, revolts erupted. Peasants demanded greater rights. Communities challenged.